Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to English class. After a long time, we are meeting now. I think you are fine and safe in your home. Stay safe and healthy. Okay. Today, we are going to discuss about our Unit 2, third lesson. One child, one teacher, one pen, and one book can change the world. It is a speech of Malala Yousafzai at the UN General Assembly. Do you hear about Malala Yousafzai? Did you hear about the girl Malala Yousafzai? She is a Pakistan activist. Let's know more about Malala Yousafzai. After that, we shall start the class, okay? Malala Yousafzai was born on 12th July 1997 in the Swat district of Pakistan's northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, into a lower middle class family. She is a daughter of Ziauddin Yousafzai and Torpekai Yousafzai. Her family is Sunni Muslim of Pashto ethnicity. At her house in Mingora, she lived with her two younger brothers, Kushal and Adal. Her parents, Ziauddin and Turpekai, and two pet chickens. Then, Yousafzai was educated mostly by her father, who is a poet, school owner, and an educational activist himself, running a chain of private schools known as Kushal Public Schools. In 2009, Yousafzai began as a trainee and then a peer educator in the Institute for War and Peace Reporting's Open Minds Pakistan Youth Program. Then, up more than 100 girls' schools. The night before the ban took effect that was filled with in Mingora. The Taliban had set an edict that no girls could attend school after 15 January 2009. The group had already blown the noise of artillery fire, waking Yousafzai several times. On 7 February, Yousafzai and her brother returned to their hometown of Mingora, where the streets were deserted and there was an eerie silence. On 15th February, gunshots could be heard in the streets of Mingora. Later that night, when the Taliban announced the peace deal on their FM radio studio, another round of stronger firing started outside. Yousafzai spoke out against the Taliban on the National Current Affairs show Capital Talk on 18th February. 3 days later, local Taliban leader announced on his FM radio station that he was lifting the ban on women's education and girls would be allowed to attend school until exams were held on 17 March, but they had to wear burqas. Following the documentary, Yousafzai was interviewed on the national Pashto language station AVT Khyber, the Urdu language daily Art, and Canada's Toronto Star. In October 2009, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, a South African activist, nominated Yousafzai for the International Children's Peace Prize. She was the first Pakistani girl to be nominated for the award. As Yousafzai became more recognized, the dangers facing her increased. Death threats against her were published in newspapers and slipped under her door. In a meeting held in the summer of 2012, Taliban leaders unanimously agreed to kill her. On 9 October 2012, a Taliban gunman shot Yousafzai as she rode home on a bus after taking an exam in Pakistan's Swat Valley. Yousafzai was 15 years old at the time. According to reports, a masked gunman shouted, "Which one of you is Malala? Speak up, otherwise I will shoot you all." And upon being identified, Yousafzai was shot with one bullet, which traveled 18 inches from the side of her left eye through her neck and landed in her shoulder. Two other girls were also wounded in the shooting, both of whom were stable enough following the shooting to speak to reporters and provide details of the attack. After the shooting, Yousafzai was airlifted to a military hospital in Peshawar, where doctors were forced to begin operating after swelling developed in the left portion of her brain, which had been damaged by the bullet when it passed through her head. Yousafzai spoke before the United Nations in July 2013 and had an audience with Queen Elizabeth II in Buckingham Palace. In 2014, Yousafzai stated that she wished to return to Pakistan following her education in UK, and inspired by Benazir Bhutto, she would consider running for Prime Minister. On 10 October 2004, Yousafzai was announced as the co-recipient of the 2014 Nobel Peace Prize for her struggle against the suppression of children and young people and for the right of all children to education. Having received the prize at the age of 17, Yousafzai is the youngest Nobel laureate. Yousafzai shared the prize with Kailash Satyarthi. She is the second Pakistani to receive a Nobel Prize after 1979 physics laureate Abdus Salam. This is about Malala Yousafzai. Then, in our textbook, this lesson is a speech of Malala Yousafzai at the UN General Assembly. Okay. Then, you are part of different families, societies, communities, etc. Sometimes you have to face many struggles and obstacles. Who will help you in such situation? In Cinderella's story, a fairy helped her to change her fortune. Can we expect such a fairy to help us? There are some people in our society who raised their voice for their rights and also for bringing about positive changes in the society. Malala Yousafzai is one among them. She is the girl who stood up for education and suffered for that. After the class, you should read the textbook well. Before that, I shall show you the video of this speech by Malala Yousafzai.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Honorable UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, respected President General Assembly, Vok Yaramich, Honorable UN Envoy for Global Education, Mr. Gordon Brown, respected elders, and my dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Today, it is an honor for me to be speaking again after a long time. Being here with such honorable people is a great moment in my life. And it's an honor for me that today I'm wearing a shawl of Benazir Bhutto Shaheed. I don't know where to begin my speech. I don't know what people would be expecting me to say. But first of all, thank you to God, for whom we all are equal. And thank you to every person who has prayed for my fast recovery and a new life. I cannot believe how much love people have shown me. I have received thousands of good wish cards and gifts from all over the world. Thank you to all of them. Thank you to the children whose innocent words encouraged me. Thank you to my elders whose prayers strengthened me. I would like to thank my nurses, doctors, and the staff of the hospitals in Pakistan, in the UK, in the UAE government, who have helped me to get better and recover my strength. I fully support Mr. Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General, in his Global Education First initiative, and the work of the UN Special Envoy, Mr. Gordon Brown, and the respected President, General Assembly, Wok Yaramich. I thank all of them for their leadership that they continue to give. They continue to inspire all of us to action. Dear brothers and sisters, do remember one thing. Malala Day is not my day. Today is the day of every woman, every boy, and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights. There are hundreds of human rights activists and social workers who are not only speaking for their rights, but who are struggling to achieve their goal of peace, education, and equality. Thousands of people have been killed by the terrorists, and millions have been injured. I'm just one of them. So here I stand. One girl among many. I speak not for myself, but for those without voice can be heard. Those who have fought for their rights. Their right to live in peace. Their right to be treated with dignity. Their right to equality of opportunity. Their right to be educated. Dear friends, on the 9th of October 2012, the Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. They shot my friends too. They thought that the bullet would silence us, but they failed. And out of that silence came thousands of voices. The terrorists thought that they would change my aims and stop my ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born. I am the same Malala. My ambitions are the same. My hopes are the same. And my dreams are the same. Dear sisters and brothers, I'm not against anyone. Neither am I here to speak in terms of personal revenge against the Taliban or any other terrorist group. I'm here to speak up for the right of education of every child. want education for the sons and daughters of the Taliban and all the terrorists and extremists. I do not even hate the Talib who shot me. Even if there is a gun in my hand and he stands in front of me, I would not shoot him. This is the compassion that I have learned from Muhammad, the Prophet of Mercy, and Jesus Christ and Lord Buddha. This is the legacy of change that I have inherited from Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. This is the philosophy of non-violence that I have learned from Gandhiji, Bacha Khan, and Mother Teresa. And this is the forgiveness that I have learned from my father and from my mother. And this is what my soul is telling me. Be peaceful and love everyone. Dear sisters and brothers, we realize the importance of light when we see darkness. We realize the importance of our voice when we are silenced. In the same way, when we were in Swat, the north of Pakistan, we realized the importance of pens and books when we saw the guns. The wise saying, "The pen is mightier than sword," was true. The extremists were and they are afraid of books and pens. The power of education frightens them. They are afraid of women. The power of the voice of women frightens them. And that is why they killed 14 innocent students in the recent attack in Quetta. And that is why they killed female teachers and polio workers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. That is why they're blasting schools every day, because they were and they are afraid of change, afraid of equality that we will bring into our society. And I remember that there was a boy in our school who was asked by a journalist, "Why are the Taliban against education?" He answered very simply by pointing to his book. He said, "A Talib doesn't know what is written inside this book." They think that God is a tiny little conservative being who would send girls to the hell just because of going to school. The terrorists are misusing the name of Islam and Pashtun society for their own personal benefits. Pakistan is a peace-loving, democratic country. Pashtuns want education for their daughters and sons. And Islam is a religion of peace, humanity, and brotherhood. Islam says it's not only each child's right to get education, rather it's their duty and responsibility. Honorable Secretary General, peace is necessary for education. In many parts of the world, especially Pakistan and Afghanistan, terrorism, wars, and conflicts stop children to go to their schools. We are really tired of these wars. Women and children are suffering in many ways in many parts of the world. In India, innocent and poor children are victims of child labor. Many schools have been destroyed in Nigeria. People in Afghanistan have been affected by the hurdles of extremism for decades. Young girls have to do domestic child labor and are forced to get married at early age. Poverty, ignorance, injustice, racism, and the deprivation of basic rights are the main problem faced by both men and women. Dear fellows, today I'm focusing on women's rights and girls' education because they're suffering the most. There was a time when women social activists asked men to stand up for their rights, but this time we will do it by ourselves. I'm not telling men to step away from speaking for women's rights. Rather, I'm focusing on women to be independent, to fight for themselves. So, dear sisters and brothers, now it's time to speak up. So today, we call upon the world leaders to change their strategic policies in favor of peace and prosperity. We call upon the world leaders that all the peace deals must protect women's and children's rights. A deal that goes against the rights of women is unacceptable. We call upon all governments to ensure free compulsory education all over the world for every child. We call upon all the governments to fight against terrorism and violence, to protect children from brutality and harm. We call upon the developed nations to support the expansion of educational opportunities for girls in the developing world. We call upon all the communities to be tolerant, to reject prejudice based on caste, creed, sect, color, religion, or gender, to ensure freedom and equality for women so that they can flourish. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. We call upon our sisters around the world to be brave, to embrace the strength within themselves and realize their full potential. Dear brothers and sisters, we want schools and education for every child's bright future. We will continue our journey to our destination of peace and education. No one can stop us. We will speak up for our rights, and we will bring change through our voice. We believe in the power and the strength of our words. Our words can change the whole world because we are all together, united for the cause of education. And if we want to achieve our goal, then let us empower ourselves with the weapon of knowledge. And let us shield ourselves with unity and togetherness. Dear brothers and sisters, we must not forget that millions of people are suffering from poverty, injustice, and ignorance. We must not forget that millions of children are out of their schools. We must not forget that our sisters and brothers are waiting for a bright, peaceful future. So let us wage a global struggle against illiteracy, poverty, and terrorism. let us pick up. Let us pick up our books and our pens. They are our most powerful weapons. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. Education is the only solution. Education first. Thank you.
That is Malala's speech. It will be continued some more. Okay. Then read your textbook well, and one more time try to watch that video. Okay. Here in this speech, Malala, the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner, campaigns for the rights of girls' education, particularly their girl children, particularly their right to education. She gives voice to all the voiceless millions around the world and exhorts the world to acknowledge the power of education, free speech, and gender equality. She says, let us wage a global struggle against literacy, poverty, and terrorism. And let us pick up books and pens. They are our most powerful weapons. Okay, that is about Malala's speech. Okay, read the textbook well, and one more time, try to watch that video. Okay, up to here today's class. Let's meet in the next class. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.